Is sugar actually the devil?
And I've literally eaten ice cream every day for the past couple of months.
Oh, yeah, there's definitely sugar in that.
Definitely sugar in that.
A couple of big celebrity kind of doctors that have jumped on this bandwagon. When they're saying this stuff, other people hear it and say, well, it must be true.
I don't think people just realise just how many calories can be in coffee, like lattes and cappuccinos, and especially if you're adding syrups.
It is spiced pumpkin latte season.
Yeah, I had one of them the other day. I was wildly disappointed.
Well, you're wrong.
No one actually likes them, it's just for the Insta. Like, nobody sits there and craves to just drink a jar of honey. It's the processed foods that contain sugar because they've been designed that way.
I don't really ever see people like slamming back 3 apples.
And it's really important to understand the difference between whole foods and natural sugars. And I wanted to talk a little bit about artificial sweeteners as well.
Yeah.
I know you've got some strong opinions on this.
Yeah. Hi, I'm Jaymie.
And I'm Stacey.
And this is the Body Smart Podcast.
And today we are asking, should you be afraid of sugar?
I don't know. Should you? There's a plate of sugar in front of us.
There is. So I went and got 17 teaspoons full of sugar from the kitchen because that is the average intake of added sugar.
Yeah, so I was getting into this, like, that's not like sugar in fruit or food.
No.
It's the added sugar, like what you'd put in your coffee.
Yeah, or it could be added into your food if you're eating processed food, but it's not like the sugar that's in your potatoes.
Or yeah, like a banana.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But yeah, that's the average daily intake of the average person in the US of added sugar, which if you are not on YouTube right now, and you're listening to us solely through your ears, not through your eyes, it's about half a mugful when I put it into a mug. So it's quite a lot of sugar.
Of just pure sugar, yeah.
Yeah.
How much do you think you have?
It's a hard one because I don't really eat that much processed food, but I do have things like sauces and stuff maybe on my dinner.
Yeah.
So probably a couple of teaspoons a day.
I have 1 sugar in my coffee. It's one thing I've not yet to give up. I just don't know if I'm going to give up. I'm like, it's my little bit of joy.
Well, I mean, do you need to? That's again something we're going to ask on this podcast because, is sugar actually the devil?
And I've literally eaten ice cream every day for the past couple of months. So, you know, it's...
Oh, yeah, there's definitely sugar in that.
definitely sugar in that. Yeah.
But so the actual recommended intake is for women about a third of that. It's only 6 teaspoons. So, I mean... Pretty small.
Yeah.
Is that 6 or is that 7? My maths isn't really working today.
That's 6. Yeah, that's 6.
So yeah, we thought we'd talk about sugar because it is October and it is going to be coming into the season where there's going to be sugar everywhere.
Yeah.
And it is a question that our clients ask us a lot, like how on earth do I handle all of this temptation? And also some other bits around sugar that we just wanted to cover off because it has been made into like this big scary devil in the media in recent years. So we just wanted to dig into like, why is that? Where does it even come from? And there's a couple of big celebrity kind of doctors and just, well, celebrities in general that have jumped on this bandwagon. So a big one is Tim Spector. He's written a couple of books on this. Another one's Dr. Robert Lustig, who's a big advocate for giving up sugar. And when it comes from doctors, like celebrity doctors, they've got that professional title next to them. When they're saying this stuff, it makes sense that other people hear it and say, well, that must be true.
Yeah.
So, well, where does it come from, this whole concept that it's really bad for you?
I mean, it's a lot of, I guess it gets claimed as like empty calories, which isn't the case. Like an empty calorie would normally be something like alcohol, where you don't really get any nutritional benefits from it. You are still getting carbohydrates and energy from sugar. It's just the sheer amount of like added sugar that is put into absolutely everything. I think I was in Las Vegas last year and I was having breakfast and the bread I had tasted sweet and I was like, is there sugar in this bread? and there literally was like added sugar in the bread, which I don't really think is a thing in the UK. I don't know if anyone's ever had sugar.
You do put sugar in to make the yeast, like when you make your own bread.
Yeah.
But it's not sweet.
Yeah, it was sweet, and I was like, so I think where it's starting to get demonized in a lot of ways is just the sheer amount of added sugar that is in everything, like, and especially in Western diets. So it's quickly become, instead of people having, you know, more whole foods and not that much sugar, to the fact that like some people will have in their breakfast, you know, if you took like the milk and the sugar in the milk, and then how much sugar is in the actual cereal, and then people add sugar on top. or have something like honey. And again, it's not to say that honey or cereal or milk is bad for you, but it's the volume. You can have like 50 grams of sugar in your breakfast.
And then if you're having your coffee with your 2 sugars as well next to it,
yeah,
it definitely easily adds up. And it's not something that's new. There's been this whole like sugar causes inflammation, all of that stuff going on. I remember back when I was trying to fix my relationship with food, if that's what you call it.
Yeah.
I had a diet book. I quit sugar. Like everything in there was like sugar free, but it still had like rice syrup.
Yeah.
You can't be completely sugar free, or you could, but if you're going to just eat vegetables and chicken, which we all know we're not fans of.
No, we're definitely not fans of. Yeah, it's really hard to avoid. Like, sugar is in pretty much everything nowadays. I think it's just like limiting the sheer volume of sugar that you can have. So, I would never drink, not anymore. Like, I'd never drink like Coke, or soda that has like 50 grams of sugar, or a can of Monster. I think we've actually got some in the office because we ordered them for the team trip, and we ordered the sugar-free ones, and a bunch come that weren't. And I'm like, I can't, not even for my teeth. They're like 50 grams of sugar in a 750 ml can. It's like what I get with that as well is like those drinks have also been designed so you don't vomit off that amount of sugar. No, like whatever chemicals they've put in there. Like if you were to get that amount of sugar and put it in a 750 ml glass with water and try to drink it, you would be sick. So it's just like, again, food is made by design, drinks are made by design to incorporate these foods to make them more addictive, make the palate of the food tastier, nicer, making you go back for more. But yeah, is it the best for our health? No, but like in moderation, it's fine.
Yeah, it's not something that you actually need to be terrified of. You don't need to cut every single gram of sugar out of your life. And I think that's a really important point to make, that like sugar is a carbohydrate and it's in every healthy form of carbohydrate. Like there's many different types of sugars. There's sugars going to be in your potatoes, your tomatoes, even your garlic has got sugar in it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh my God, what was one of the vegetables I had? Is it peas? Peas.
Oh yeah, peas have got a lot of sugar in.
And I was just like, I was a bit shocked by that. Just because I think you look at anything green and think, that hasn't got sugar in. And I was like, oh yeah, peas have got quite a lot of sugar.
But then if you flip that mindset around and be like, hey, if peas have got sugar in, maybe sugar isn't that bad.
Yeah.
So I think that's one of the main takeaways for anybody who's listening. Even if you don't listen to the whole episode, please don't feel like sugar is something that you should cut completely out of your diet. And it's really important to understand the difference between like whole foods and natural sugars and then added sugars. And I wanted to talk a little bit about artificial sugars or artificial sweeteners as well, because I feel like that's something that people get a bit torn about. Like they aren't sure whether they should have them or whether they shouldn't have them. If they're going to cut out sugar, does that mean they have to cut out everything sweet? I know you've got some strong opinions on this.
Yeah. I mean, with the sweetener side of things, there's so much data and research now that shows that, aspartame, I think, is like one of the most studied chemicals and sweeteners that there is. And there's just so much to back up that, like, in moderation, it is, completely fine. I think you'd have to drink something like 17. I mean, come on, you can pull this up for us. It's like 17 cans a day for like months, to see some sort
of like a Diet Coke or something.
Of like a Diet Coke or something to see like a negative effect. And it's like, most people aren't drinking more than a couple of cans, and that's not moderation either. Moderation for me would be like a couple of cans a week. That would be moderation, and your body can tolerate that. It's just the amount when you start tipping over, and that's not just with aspartame. That's with anything. If you have too much caffeine in one day, if you drink too much water, you can kill yourself. Like people literally can drown of drinking too much water. So the danger is always in the dosage and how much that you have. But yeah, I am a little bit concerned sometimes with the sweetener side of things, because I think some people don't realize then just how much sweeteners are in food. So you might have your protein powder has got sweetener in, your Diet Coke has got sweetener in, your coffee's got sweetener in, certain foods have got sweetener in. And then if you actually add it up, it's like, okay, maybe you're actually having like 10, 11, 12 amounts of...
Yeah, because Sai's just got that up and it says 9 to 14 cans a day to exceed the acceptable daily intake. But actually, like you're saying, 9 cans worth across all of your different foods maybe isn't that crazy.
Yeah, because if I look at my protein powder and that's got artificial sweetener in it, and then if I were to look at some other foods that you're like, oh, that's very sweet, like most protein bars as well. And if you went like, is it unreasonable to think that somebody's having, a bunch of different sweetened foods and drinks, and is that actually having a high dosage? And again, that's always just where it comes down to just moderation and making sure that you're having not that much processed food, no more. We always try and aim for that 80-20, like the majority of your diet coming from whole foods, the minority coming from the more processed stuff and stuff like that.
Yeah, because then that does mean only 20% of your food is going to have those potential artificial sweeteners or added sugars in it. And actually, if you don't suddenly vilify every sugar, if you say, do you know what, I'm going to have 20% of things that I enjoy, and some of that, maybe 10%, is going to have like real sugar in it, that's also not the end of the world. Because if we look at those 6 cubes of sugar, that's actually quite a lot.
It is, yeah, but you'd be shocked how, like, anytime I've put anyone on like sort of like and they've been like wanted to be really specific around, controlling their calories. 2 of the things I've got them to like focus on or 3 would be protein, and then fiber, and then sugar. And if you actually try and get someone to just be like, hey, just actually focus on your protein, fiber, and sugar, like people actually can struggle to hit their calories, because like they'll go and buy like a pre-made porridge, you just pour water in or something, and like, oh, that's got 20 grams of sugar in it. And it's like, yeah. So you end up using normal oats, which has got next to no sugar in it. And it's just like you end up forced to make smarter food choices just by the fact that you're trying to reduce the amount of sugar that you're having in your day-to-day diet and get more fiber and protein.
Yeah, it's a really good strategy actually to help people realize as well where those sugars are, because like we've talked about, sugar is in everything. But if you're not feeling satisfied from your food, maybe it's because more of your foods have got high sugar content, even natural sugars.
Yeah.
And then that makes it hard for you to feel satisfied, get enough of the other things into your diet. And it's something that a lot of our clients actually ask. I've had many, many clients say like, how much sugar should I eat a day? Because we've got this added sugar goal that's like very publicly available. And that one that I said earlier is 6 teaspoons. That's the American Heart Association's recommendations for a woman. But that's only added sugar. And so when there isn't like a publicized recommendation, some personality types, me included, freak out, because I'm like, yeah, but how much total sugar? Because MyFitnessPal gives me a sugar amount, not an added sugar amount.
Yeah.
So we generally give people a bit of a guideline, don't we?
Yeah, we try to give people like a guideline and work with it, because it's always just social media with the amount of misinformation, like the amount of people that demonize fruit online now. Is wild, as if like fruit's like the thing that's making people like, completely obese, which is not the case. Again, moderation, but like fruit can have a lot of sugar in it, especially something like grapes. I can feel like grapes can be one of those things that you can keep eating and keep eating and keep eating, especially if you buy a tub. So it's just about, like your natural sugars, I'm never too worried about, because we've spoke about this on the podcast before. I don't really ever see people like slamming back 3 apples. You know what I mean? You just kind of have one, so it's often a much better snack choice.
But then your example of grapes there, it is very easy to eat a whole punnet of grapes. And like, Si, how much sugar is in a punnet of grapes? It's probably a lot.
Yeah. What were those grapes that you bought?
I bought some like candy floss grapes.
Candy floss grapes.
Oh my goodness, they were so good. They were like sweets, weren't they?
They were like sweets, yeah.
Yeah, they were definitely high in sugar.
But like certain things you can swap out. Like if you can eat like a full packet of raspberries or blueberries or strawberries, and again, you can eat the whole pack, very little calories. Yes, there's sugar in it, but it's fine. It's full of fiber as well. And what have we got?
Okay, so 16 grams of sugar and 100 grams of grapes. But I think a punnet of grapes is like 300, probably. So, I mean, it's a lot if you were to eat the whole punnet, and I have definitely done that.
Yeah, and what's that, like 50 grams of sugar? Yeah. So,
yeah, and you're not satisfied for hours after eating that.
No, you're not. So again, it's always moderation and being aware of that. Like, yes, you can eat these foods, and yes, you can have a little bit of added sugar, but it's moderating the amount. In terms of, I used to always go for like no more than a third of your carbohydrates. Ideally, more of a quarter shouldn't be coming from. What have we got? You get it? 500 grams? Oh, crap. That's a lot of sugar. What would that be? 32, 64. Oh my God, my maths is terrible. 82 grams of sugar.
Wow.
Yeah.
That's a lot.
But yeah, I would normally go for a rule of thumb. And again, it varies depending on people's macros.
Yeah.
But just to make it easy, like, so let's say you're having, 150 grams of carbohydrates, but like no more than a third needs to come, ideally even a quarter coming from sugar.
Which if you ate those grapes, you would have bust that easy.
Yeah, and that's just like from one food. So, having those little food rules, it doesn't, and I mean, this is what we always lean into. It is a little bit of a food rule, but it's also like a little bit of a guide. It's like if you go over one day, it's like not the end of the world.
Yeah.
Like if you go over a couple of days, again, it's not the end of the world. But if you're consistently going over, that's when you should pay a little bit more attention to what you consume. And I mean, it can allow you to make more mindful decisions.
And it's not really a food rule as such. It's like a food awareness.
Yeah,
it's
that's
like
better.
if you know that you're aiming for this amount and then you eat those punter grapes, you go, oh my goodness, that really busts my sugar. You learn from that and you don't do it again.
Yeah.
That's what the purpose of it is, not to be like, oh my goodness, there's this hard rule that I should never break and I've broken it, so I'm bad.
Exactly. Like if I eat like a McDonald's for breakfast, which is very rare, we had to last time that actually happened about 2 months ago because we went to charge the electric car and we didn't have anything in our house. We were like, oh, there's a McDonald's there. I haven't had a McDonald's breakfast for ages. And then I'm like hungry like 2 hours later and I'm like, well, no shit. Like you just had a McDonald's. Like I'm not surprised. You know what I mean? It's not the best way to spend the calories. I'm not going to beat myself up about it. It's just you have the awareness and can make more informed decisions.
Yeah. So when it comes to actually looking at where the sugars come from, we've talked about fruit, which is not a demon. And you've mentioned Monster. And something that I thought was really interesting was 47% of added sugars are in drinks.
Wow.
Yeah. So actually, if you want to find a quick win, it's probably not even what you're eating.
Yeah, I think liquid calories are probably one of the easiest things, especially if you're trying to lose weight. Removing liquid calories from your diet is probably one of the easiest ways of going about it. I don't think people just realize just how many calories can be in coffee, and you know, like especially like lattes and cappuccinos, and especially if you're adding syrups.
Oh, because it's coming into, or it is like spiced pumpkin latte season.
Yeah, I had one of them the other day. I was wildly disappointed.
Have you heard the latest Costa advert? It's like, yeah, everyone's been going on about spiced latte. What are they even called?
Pumpkin spice latte.
Okay, yeah. And then in the advert, she's like, let's face it, no one actually likes them. It's just for the Insta. And then they've brought out this new one called maple hazelnut, which does sound delicious.
That sounds a lot nicer. Yeah.
But probably just as calorific and sugary.
Oh, yeah. Like literally when they went, they were like, do you want cream on top? And I was like, it's like that's you just know that's going to be like 400 calories in a drink. But yeah, like cutting. And again, like, I would love a latte. So if I was still wanting to lose weight, I'd probably still have a latte. But would I have, if I had 2 or 3 coffees that day, make all 3 of them from lattes? No, because that's going to be a quick way of, 1, bumping up your sugar super high, but then 2, just adding a lot of extra liquid calories, which aren't satiating. So again, you just got to kind of pick, like, if you really enjoy that 1 cup of coffee and it's worth the calories for you, that's fine, because diet adherence is super important. You want to be able to enjoy parts of your diet. But I think just cutting back some of the coffees, the worst culprits have got to be smoothies.
Oh yeah, because they're dressed up as being healthy.
Yeah, and they just couldn't be further from the truth. So like what we were just saying about the apple before.
Yeah,
you know, you'll get like a naked juice. Come on, Si, we've got you again, haven't you? And it's just like, it'll say like, this has got 7 apples in it. It's like, well, no one's eating 7 apples, but it's got 7 apples. But it forgets to add, like, it's got 7 apples of sugar. But it will say,
no fiber.
And no fiber. And it will say on the bottle, no added sugar. And it's like, yeah, because it's a freaking shitload of compressed sugar in the drink. So those are probably some of the worst culprits. And then obviously your sodas, which I think everyone knows. You know,
everyone's definitely smartened up to the sodas, and I think a big part of it in the UK is the sugar tax that was introduced in 2018.
When I tell Americans about this, they're like, "What? You have a tax?"
Oh yeah, so we should probably explain. So as like a public health good kind of intervention, there was a sugar tax. It was been lobbied for quite a long time by Jamie Oliver, who's a very famous chef over here.
Do you remember when that happened though? Do you remember like people hated him for it? And I was like, he literally has done such a like good thing for the whole country, and people were like, how dare you not let me have 50 grams of sugar in my Lucozade? You know what I mean? People were like, why is my Lucozade only got 30 grams of sugar in now? And it was like, it was wild.
And now actually nobody would probably tell because the artificial sweeteners have got so much better at replicating the taste, and all of the companies have kind of gone along with reformulation rather than getting rid of their drinks, right? Why would they do that? And so I found this really cool stat, which is more than 45,000 tons of sugar has been removed from drinks in the UK since that was introduced. Yeah. Which is mega.
Yeah, it's a hell of a lot, isn't it? And it's, I mean, it's on the rise in this country, things like type 2 diabetes, but it's huge in the States. You know, the amount of clients that we speak to that are regularly on insulin. Probably one of the saddest things that I heard about this was like the amount of dogs in America that are on insulin.
What?
Yeah. Well, you think about it, it's like you're overweight. Is it likely that your dog is also overweight and you're overfeeding your dog, and then your dog ends up needing to be on insulin as well? Yeah, there's a lot of dogs that are overweight and on insulin. Yeah, it's bad. But I remember, Si, you were telling me that I think it's something like over 50% of the US population is pre-diabetic without knowing. Is it something like that? No. Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Let's get the real stats here.
Making the most of Sai today.
We are making the most of Sai today. But you want to get the stats right. But I think that is obviously, there's definitely a connection with more sedentary lifestyles, then the increased added sugar into all these foods, and then it's like, okay, well, this is like, it's because there is having a big knock-on effect in obesity and people gaining more weight, and then it's like, oh, there's all this amount of added extra sugar. It's easy to vilify one thing instead of actually. It could be great, wouldn't it? For like, it's just sugar.
Yeah.
And it's like, it's not. There's lots of different things, and obesity and the rise in obesity is extremely complex for a multitude of different reasons.
Yeah. Although it is one simple thing you could change to make a big difference.
Yeah.
So, Sai's got the data there. 38% of US adults have pre-diabetes. So,
and don't know it, is that 19%?
No, that was just all estimates for the whole population.
I mean, that's a ridiculous.
It's a lot.
It's a ridiculous percent. Yeah.
Yeah. But yeah, one thing you can do is just start to change some of your sweet snacks, because we do get cravings for something sweet. And a lot of it I found for me was habitual, where like after dinner, we would always have pudding.
Yeah.
And so after dinner, I would want something sweet. So instead of having like a chocolate mousse, having a piece of fruit, like it does take adjustment. It's not the same. We're not going to pretend it is. But once you've done that for a couple of weeks, that then is your new habit. And actually you then really start to recalibrate your palate, and you enjoy the sweetness of fruit in a way that you didn't when you were just constantly eating processed sugars.
Yeah. We done it before we went on the 3 months of ice cream every night. Prior to that, we actually did try doing the fruit after dinner loads, and we had is it honeydew melon?
Oh, yum, yeah.
Oh yeah, so we were just having like a slice of that, and that was like not that many calories in it, but it was super sweet and really nice. And then we just changed it up, so we'd have that, then we'd have like pineapple, then we'd have like berries and a bit of yogurt, and again you're getting the same thing, which you want is that, and it is a habit to have something almost like sweet after dinner, but probably a hell of a lot less of calories, more fiber, more nutrients, more minerals, and still getting to like sort of satisfy that sweet craving.
Yeah, and talking of cravings, one of the things that I know people have talked about, and I've had a client that said this to me, I'm addicted to sugar though. I've got sugar addiction. And unfortunately, the research does not support this being like a thing. But there are a lot of things that go on, like habitual patterns, and there's brain chemistry going on, and there's like the design of food going on that make it feel like you need that sugar.
Yeah. I think you can get addicted to anything, frankly. Like you can pretty much get addicted to anything just because of the habitual nature of doing something. But are people addicted to sugar in the way they think like I'm addicted to cocaine or I'm addicted to heroin, or like that's like people talk about it in that sense, like I need sugar, and it's like no, you don't. Like you just regularly overconsume the amount of sugar that you have, and that's having an impact where you feel like you need to keep having it. So it's definitely not the same as that. And I think a lot of people, if they just started making some basic changes to their nutrition on a regular basis and started to take out the amount of added sugar into their diet, over time they would find that it's not as much of a crutch as they think it is.
Yeah, I do agree. But also there is like the brain chemistry is similar to those drug highs. So you do get a release of dopamine, which is, that pleasure neurotransmitter when you eat sugar. And so we're not saying it's as addictive as cocaine, but there is that same kind of cycle of reward. And that reinforces the habit. So you've got the habit, but it's being strengthened by the chemistry that's behind it. And so if you keep having that high, you kind of come desensitized to it. So if you only needed 2 pieces of chocolate to get that like warm, fuzzy feeling, and then you have that for a couple of weeks, maybe you need 4, then maybe you need 6, then maybe you eat the whole bar. And so it is a little bit of a slippery slope, and I can see why people use that term of addiction, because it must feel, I've been there, it does feel like I need it.
Yeah.
I don't know, it's hard. Like, is it an addiction then?
I'm not an addiction expert, so I'm not gonna say yeah, but I'm yet to meet any of the clients. And we've worked with thousands of women where we've not been able to just meet them where they're at and start to take steps to either reduce the amount of sugar in the diet, increase the amount of whole foods, and over time change their palate. And you can start to get used to having more sugar and start to create a little bit more balance in terms of your relationship with food and your relationship with sugar. So yeah, I don't think it's an impossible problem for people to overcome.
Yeah.
I think it's just, again, it's like it's breaking the habit of being you, and that can take time, and it can take a little bit of rewiring. But as long as you're open to taking those steps, it can 100% be done.
Yeah, and it's also worth saying it's probably not sugar, like you said about the apples. It's also not. You don't sit and look at that plate of chunks of sugar and go, oh, I just really want to eat that. Like nobody sits there and craves to just drink a jar of honey.
Yeah.
It's the processed foods that contain sugar because they've been designed that way.
They have, yeah. And you honestly, you do find like, and I've done like phases where I used to eat super clean. Like if you actually have like 2 solid weeks where you do just like cut out these foods, like your palate just completely adjusts. And if you end up having something sweet, you're like, oh my God, that's so sweet. And it like changes it changes so much. And I'm not saying that people need to go to that extreme, but I do sometimes think you have to go to extremes sometimes to understand what balance looks like for you.
To recalibrate a little bit.
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah, I did the Whole30 back in the day. So I've pretty much done all of the things.
Yeah.
And that is like hardcore. You must have no processed anything. And if you do, it's for 30 days.
Yeah.
And if you have one thing, you have to start again. 30 days starts again.
Yeah.
Yeah, I didn't manage to do 30 days.
Right.
After I reset myself a few times, I was like, fuck this shit.
I'm done.
But part of the reason for that and their kind of, I don't know, methodology is to have that recalibration.
Okay.
Because if you do manage to go 30 whole days and then you have like something really sweet and processed, it probably isn't going to taste as great as you remember. Mm-hmm. And we've got so many stories of clients who have actually like rebalance their diet. They do have occasional sweet things, but then something that they used to really crave, they try it and they're like, oh my God, actually no, that's really sickly. I don't even enjoy it now.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I think that's apparent with your change in relationship with food, change in relationship with yourself, maybe feeling a little bit more abundant with the diet that you're on. Like I think a lot of people believe, like I'll eat anything, like I'll pretty much eat anything, but a lot of people will look at, say, myself and think, oh, that guy doesn't eat pizza, or that guy doesn't have a pint, or doesn't drink any alcohol, or doesn't, people put you in a box because they perceive you to be the pinnacle of health or whatever it is, that you don't eat or act in a certain way. And that just isn't the case at all. You just don't do it all the time because you don't feel the need to. You actually realize that eating more healthy foods and exercising and doing all these healthier habits make you feel good. Like they make you feel better. Like you just feel more clear in your thoughts, you feel more clear in your actions, you sleep better, you feel better. So you choose to do that the majority of the time. And also, like, a lot of these healthy foods, like if they're dressed up correctly, they're really, really nice.
Dressed up correctly. I just got like an image of an avocado in a dinner suit. I like it.
I love it. Sorry to interrupt. Just a quick ask. If you are enjoying this podcast, we do ask if you would go and hit that subscribe button, because our goal is to be able to help all of you guys become body smart. And the way we can do that is by getting better guests on, more experts. And the bigger this podcast gets, the more guests we can get on here. So yeah, I think the reason that changes so much for clients is that they start to get on the other side of feeling in abundance. Like, oh, I actually can have the bar of chocolate. I'm just choosing not to. But if I want to, I know I can. Mm-hmm. And it's having that abundant mindset towards food. I think it really can become super liberating, because you feel like, oh, I'm choosing to have the chocolate, or I'm choosing not to have the chocolate.
Yeah.
Instead of feeling like I can't have the chocolate. And there's a very big distinction in that.
Yeah, and I think as much as there's going to be a lot of people listening to this when it isn't Halloween, it is Halloween right now.
Yeah.
And I think that point is super important this particular time of year, because there's going to be sweets and chocolates everywhere.
Yeah.
And you can have it. You can 100% have it. But if you choose not to, like if you become in that empowered place where you decide what's actually going to make you happy, what's actually going to fuel you, what's going to make you feel good and not have a crash in half an hour's time.
Yeah.
That completely changes the game, because all that box of sweets or like that bucket of chocolates in front of you has a different power over you when you're choosing.
Yeah. Do you have any? So for me, I like 5 years ago, like Steph's family knew that I was like obsessed with Oreos and like yellow M&Ms. I wasn't obsessed. I was just like, it was a food that I liked a bit more, but it was one of them, like once I started eating them, like I really felt like I couldn't stop. Yeah. So then like her family bought me like 20 packs of Oreos and yellow M&Ms or something for like my birthday, and it got to the point where it was actually stressing me out because I was like, I know if I eat like one, I'm going to struggle to stop. And I did just get to the point after a while, I was like, right, I'm just getting rid. Like, I didn't get rid of them. I just went and gave them. I went to take them into the hospital to, take them into work or whatever else, and just give them to someone else. And I've actually found with Halloween and with some other clients, like knowing that like these bags and bags and bags of sweets are there in the house, it's like once the novelty of a couple of days of Halloween's worn off, like just take them into work or just get rid of them, because you know what, the kids probably won't notice. They'll go, where's Halloween chocolate gone? Or where's the sweets gone? And they're just like, oh, we ran out. And they're like, no, you didn't. And you're just like, oh, tell a white lie. Or just what, you can make up whatever you want. But like, then it's them who aren't really struggling. It's probably more you.
Yeah.
And I know that's not always like some people are like, well, you should have the discipline or you should have this. And, there's certain things around that, but I'm just like out of sight, out of mind. And, you know how easy it is if there's those type of sweets or chocolates in after Halloween to just have one and then I turn into 10. Like, holy crap, I've had 1,500 calories of chocolate and sweets and I feel like crap now.
Definitely. And I think what you're saying about like there being so much of it, it almost becomes a bit like overwhelming, that need to like get through them.
Yeah.
And then you're like, well, I'll just have to have like a little bit every day and then it'll spread it out and it won't be as bad and then they'll be gone. But you could just get rid of them.
Yeah.
Because I definitely have that. If I've got something in the house, I think, well, if I just eat like a little bit every day, that will spread it out. But actually, if they weren't there, I wouldn't miss them.
No.
I wouldn't be like, oh no, I'm not having my 5 Oreos today.
Yeah.
So it is 100% a mental game.
Yeah.
Like getting into the mindset of don't have to throw them away, because I know a lot of people struggle with that concept of wasting food.
Yeah.
But like finding somewhere. My husband's work is great for this.
Yeah.
I can give anything, like even opened packets of stuff. They're not fussy. They'll take anything. So if you haven't already got an outlet like that, then even, like you said, take it down the hospital, the old people's home. Or whatever.
There's loads of places that you can take it if you don't want to throw away. But
I
mean, it was, we had a video where, there was like a couple of mouthfuls of food left on the plate and we put it in the bin on the video. We were like, hey, instead of, keeping it, let's just like, put it in the bin as soon as you finish so you don't just keep eating like 10 minutes afterwards. And the amount of hate we got on that for throwing away food, people like, you should have done this, you should have done that. And again, Si, we're going to have to use you here. I'm sure somebody said to me, there's more people now in the world dying from overeating than undereating. You know what I mean? So that like that concept of like, we should be in this like scarce mindset and that's a waste of food. And I do get that, of course. Like I'm not a big component of waste at all. But if like you need to put certain strategies in place that stop you overeating for your health, like that has to be taken into consideration too, and not be seen as a waste, actually as a way of making you stay and be healthy. Yeah.
I have to say, having a dog does solve a lot of these moral dilemmas.
Yeah, well, maybe that's why all the dogs in America ended up on insulin.
Also, it depends what you've got on your plate. Probably shouldn't be fed to the dog in some of these situations. So.
Yeah. I mean, you're not meant to give dogs chocolate at all, are you?
No, don't give your dog any leftover chocolate.
Yeah.
Let's just make that really clear.
Yeah.
Or sweets. Or grapes.
I don't know anything
grapes
about
are poisonous
are they?
to dogs, yeah.
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
Even the candy floss ones?
Even those. And like my toddler likes to try and give all of his food to the dog and he freaking loves raisins. And I'm like, no, don't give that to the dog.
Why is that bad too?
They're grapes.
Oh, there you go. Thank you. Keep learning stuff every day.
A little dried out, shriveled up grapes.
Did not know that.
There you go.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Makes sense now. Yeah.
What have we got there, Si?
Just confirm what Jay said before about the more people die being overweight than starvation.
Is it true? Yeah, overweight and obesity is linked to more deaths worldwide than underweight, and that's from the World Health Organization. From the horse's mouth, that is a bigger issue.
Yeah, so I think if food isn't scarce for you, and you can go to the shops and quite easily buy food. If you've got an extra couple of bits of food left on your plate, and it's better for you to throw that away than to just leave it there on the plate and then overeat an extra couple of 100 calories.
Yeah,
that can be a great strategy. But again, same with the sheer volume. I mean, Halloween's even bigger in the US than it is in the UK, like a lot bigger. And I just think having like 3 shopping bags of candy, as our American friends will say, or chocolate and sweets in the house is just a lot of temptation.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
And to go back to what you said about the kids being like, oh, well, what have you done with my candy? Actually, if you're trying to make these healthy changes for yourself,
you want to make them for your kids too.
Yeah. You're also doing it for the right reasons for them, and teaching them moderation, teaching them you don't need to have all of that is a good thing that you're doing for them.
Yeah. And I mean, I'm not a parent yet, if I can ever have kids, but, you know, I always get a lot of pushback when I say certain stuff like this, which is like they're going, but like my kids make me do this. And it's like, your kids don't make you do anything. Like, you're the adult in the house, you're the boss, you're the one that's in control. And again, something like as important as like what they eat and their health, like that is your responsibility. So yeah, again, enjoy the season, enjoy the day, enjoy even a day or two afterwards. But like then, you know, there's a point where you and your kids don't need to be consuming extra 150 grams of sugar from all the all the candy and treats that are in the house after it.
Yeah, and in terms of enjoying it, one of the like great little nuggets of wisdom from our beautiful coach Brooke is the like it, leave it, love it, have it.
Yeah.
So I'm going to say it again because when she first said it to me, I was like, say what? But if you like something, you just like it, it's okay. Just leave it.
Yeah.
If you absolutely love it, have it and enjoy it and eat it slow and savor the moment. And you'll probably find if you look at that bag full of candy and you go through each of the different types of candy, you probably just like most of them. There might be one or two that are your favorite. Okay, keep those ones. But the other ones, you're really not going to miss.
Yeah. I mean, I always think about this when it's Christmas and you get a box of celebrations and you just...
Do they have those in America?
No, they don't.
It's like just a box of really random flavored mixed chocolates, like strawberry cream.
And Mars bar and Snickers, and there's like a little Malteser one. And
oh, yeah, those are those ones.
yeah. And then there's a Bounty. I think they've actually taken the Bounty out now because no one liked it. But
like you can buy a whole separate box just to Bounties now. I saw it.
Oh, right.
Yeah.
But that would be one of the things. Like I don't even like a Bounty, but in them, I would just eat the Bounty.
But do you know what I would do? I'd eat all the whole box until there was only Bounties, and then I'd begrudgingly eat the Bounties. Genuinely.
But again, like that's that concept of like you don't even like that, it's just there and you just eat it because it's just there. And I think that's again, you know, if you like it, leave it, and if you love it, keep them in and savor it and you know, factor them into the next like week or two. But it's an easy way to just kind of get rid of probably like 80-90% of the chocolate and sweets in the house.
Really good tip. One of the other good tips that I wanted to cover off as well is this whole like I need sugar thing is often psychological. And especially if you're tired, if you're stressed, if you've got like emotional stuff going on, that sugar serves a purpose. And it can be the things that you crave. Like you don't think, oh, I'm really stressed out, I just want to have like a nice solid meal of quinoa and salmon.
Only you would probably eat that as well, though, Stace.
You want like a chocolate croissant and a coffee, right? So it's because if we break it down, when you're stressed, if we go back to like being a caveman or woman, you are stressed. So your body says, right, we're going to have to like fight something or run away from something. Mm-hmm. So we're going to need some energy, like go find some energy. So your body is really trying to help you out if you're stressed by getting you fueled up, ready to fight or run away. Your stress probably doesn't need you to fight or run away right now. So the first thing is understanding that. And that really helped me be like, my body's asking for this because it thinks that's the problem, but that's not actually the problem. So I don't need to respond in that way. And the other thing is that your cortisol that spikes when you're stressed actually causes an imbalance in your blood sugar. So your blood sugar goes up to fuel you to run away. And then your insulin comes along and lowers it. Mm-hmm. And so you get cravings to replenish that sugar. But if you know that that's what's going on, you're in control. Like you don't have to go and have a chocolate bar. You can go and have some quinoa and salmon if you want. Yeah. And one of the other really good tips I wanted to share today was blasted, which I know you give a really good explanation of. Yes. So a lot of, they say about 20% of hunger nowadays is physiological. So your genuine hunger, you know, your stomach's grumbling a little bit. And 80% is psychological. So blasted is I'm pretty sure we come up with this acronym because there was, what was the one? If you Google it, you can't find it. So. So the one before this was HALT, and we were like, this doesn't cover enough. Yeah, and HALT is everywhere. Yeah, HALT is everywhere, which is... hungry, angry, lonely, tired. Yeah, so we went with blasted, which is, are you bored, lonely, oh my God. Angry? Anxious, I think it is. Bored, lonely, anxious, stressed, tired, emotional, distracted. Yes. So that was what made up, you know, flipping heck, I didn't do well there, did I? That makes up our acronym of blasted, which helps you understand, is the reason that you're turning to food a psychological driver? And for a lot of people, it often is. And that can really be a great tool to use to start helping you problem solve, like why you're turning to food, or at least why you're turning to sugar. Because if we look at it most of the time, the reason somebody wants to go and eat something really sweet for that energy boost is you maybe not having the best sleep,
or, you know, maybe you're really stressed and exercise or some other outlet could really help with that. And that's why when you start living a more overall healthy lifestyle and you exercise on a regular basis and you're managing your stress better and you're getting better sleep, you tend to find like, oh, I'm not craving these foods as much, or I'm not craving this sugar as much. Or it could just be down to the fact that maybe you're not having like 50 grams of sugar for breakfast anymore, you know, because you're not having just like cereal with milk and added sugar, and that's spiking your blood sugar, and then you're crashing, and then you kind of want to get another hit basically to level yourself back out. So, you know, just by starting to prioritize a healthier lifestyle and making smarter food choices, you'd be surprised just how quickly some of these problems can sort of go away.
Yeah, and that means you don't feel like you're at the behest of the sugar demon.
Yeah.
And you can be a bit more empowered in deciding, like, do I actually need to revert to sugar, or is my body asking me for fuel or sleep or water?
Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, we've talked a lot about, like, sugar. Is it good? Is it bad? It's not bad.
It's not bad.
But it's all in moderation.
It's all in moderation, and it's learning to moderate what that looks like for you.
Yeah. And so in general, the best thing you can look at is your labels, as always. Look at if there's added sugar in your foods. If there is, then just start to be aware. Like, you don't have to cut it out completely. You don't have to go whole 30, but start to be aware of where those sugars are being added and drip fed into your diet so that you can start to recalibrate and get closer to more of an 80-20.
Yeah. And I think that's like one of the real benefits of at least going through a phase or a season of tracking your food. Like, it just raises your awareness so much of the foods that you eat. Like, you just become so much more aware of like labels and reading labels and understanding what's in food. And you always get so much pushback, like, oh, this is going to cause disordered eating. No, it's just a tool to educate you more about food that you can use. I haven't tracked food in forever now, but I'm in tune to food as a whole, and it just allows me to make more informed decisions. Yeah, I think tracking, you know, can really help. Even if you just wanted to be like, right, am I having too much sugar? I'm going to track everything I eat for the next 2 weeks. You'd start to be like, holy crap, that's got that much sugar in it.
Yeah.
And can, again, just start to make more informed decisions.
That's a really good point, actually, because if you don't track your food ever, it's easy to mindlessly consume just whatever you end up consuming and not just consciously think about what you're consuming.
Yeah.
So even if all you achieve by tracking it is starting to pay attention, that can make a big difference.
That can make a huge difference. Yeah.
Yeah. So overall, enjoy your Halloween. Like it, leave it, love it, have it, and everything in moderation.
Love it.
If you enjoyed today's episode, then you should definitely check out episode 36, where we explore belly fat and the role that insulin resistance, stress, and hormones have to play in this tough area. So search the Body Smart podcast on your chosen platform.